The arrival of Toyota's 2020 GR Supra has been big news among enthusiasts, especially as its most logical competitors are the 2019 BMW M2 Competition and Porsche 718 Cayman PDK. Supra is not the most powerful nor the lightest among the three, but it has excellent traction and plenty of mid-range torque. Let's join Gary Thomason for an in-car assessment of the Supra's dynamic track performance.
And a beautiful sound. This is the best, it's an opinion, of course, but I think this is the best sounding car of the group by a pretty good margin, frankly. Listen to that. See how, again, that shift is so quick.
So how's the torque in this engine compared to the torque in the M2? You feel it?
Yeah, again, this is just, it's available at such a low RPM, so 1600 RPM, and it's just there instantaneous.
It's just pulling like that.
And that's what makes it feel not turbocharged. So that's what really accelerates the car is the torque, especially out of the hole, out of the corner. You want the torque to pull you out of it, and this does a wonderful job of that.
And there's a lot of that on this
It
car.
helps that, and that's one of the things that kind of separates this car because it's quicker to get to the meat of the power band than the other cars are. And again, I'm not criticizing the other cars; they're very good.
Right.
The other thing is that this car is much lighter than the BMW. It's much lower than the BMW. The center of gravity is much lower. It outbrakes the BMW by a large margin in our tests, and you can feel that out here too. It just feels the brakes are just right there immediately. Feel good, feel strong, and when it's outbraking the BMW by 17 feet from 80 miles an hour in our testing, that's a big difference.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
And so again, on a handling track, the brakes and the torque become a large factor.
So what about just the overall handling character of it?
Very neutral, very agile. That's one thing that Toyota was after in this car was agility, and it shows up everywhere. The instant turn in, it almost never has any significant understeer. So less understeer than the BMW by a good margin. The BMW has a fair amount of understeer, especially in the tighter corners, and this course has plenty of tight corners. Again, the BMW understeer is not heavy. I would never call it heavy. It feels it's very balanced for the type of car it is. This car is very neutral, so all four tires are working all the time, and that's obvious in the way it feels. It's very communicative. It tells you what's going on in the seat of your pants to the steering wheel, but mainly through the seat of pants. And you're seated very far back in this car also, so that helps with the communication because you're further away from the central axis of the car. It gives you a lot of information. And this car, it's a good thing it gives you a lot of communication because it's neutral, and that could lead to oversteer, but it gives you some of those messages. You can tell it's a very neutral handling car, but it never really oversteers. So I think that's part of the magic of this car is the diff is watching all the sensors, watching the yaw rate, and watching wheel spin, and watching throttle position, and whatever you're doing. But in adjusting it, but you learn after actually a remarkably small amount of time that's not going to happen unless you're ham-fisted or induce it on purpose or yank the wheel or something. That's a very safe characteristic for a car on a road course. It just it's a lot of fun. Again, this is a corner here where you could run into understeer issues, especially on this exit right here. It knows the car just turns right up there with no complaint from the front end. So, and it's almost, this car's a little bit like you've got to learn to speak its language, but a lot of cars are like that. That's not terribly.
And that's kind of what makes a car rewarding to own and drive after a while. I mean, you got to learn it, and it's teaching you some stuff, right?
Exactly.